Archive Direct, a conference about the game's current state and justifications. Now, I waited a long time for me to make a video on this, which is for a good reason. We have a lot on this table this update, so let's get this done. To begin this Archive Direct, we have to discuss the combat changes as they were fully implemented this update. My opinions on it is mixed, however it wasn't like this at release. When it was at release, you had unturnable dashes, very slow spinning when M1ing someone, and it made it entirely pointless to use some of the mechanics that were added this update. However, as this update marinated it, it became much more cleaner and they removed some changes regarding the combat. The indicators were a nice touch to tell that someone is going to M1 you, however the speak of the indicators sometimes has downsides. Even in my own region, I have gotten more refunds relying on indicators versus not relying on them. There's a big problem when the M1 you're about to receive is going to refund you no matter what, and even if you timed it just when the indicator appears, it still is a buggy mess. Though it works well with weapons that have animations that aren't really near instant swings. But for those that do have them, it becomes more of an issue. Lunge attacks being implemented this update was also a good touch to the combat, still keeping the feel of you being aggressive in some form without trying to air swing. Likewise, air swinging does exist, but it's debatable if you should still use it or not, as doing last second air swings aren't a thing anymore. It does take comments about using it at all. My first initials about E.G.O Gifts is that they are a good addition to the game. I haven't seen an entire point to say that they are bad in any way to how meta in this game is used. More of the fact that E.G.O Gifts are somewhat game changing. Depends on what E.G.O gift you use, but as of now, Poise, Tremor, and Bleed related gifts are eating pretty good right now. Though the rising concern about Sin Affinity's branches are starting to leak through. The gifts give good benefits as long as you meet the resonance or status conditionals to proc them, while there some are mere passives. These gifts basically make it where Sin Affinity's branches are somewhat pointless in a way. For example, if censored, this E.G.O gift is known to deplete your opponent's sanity while raising yours. Once they get low, sinking dilutes procs and acts like rupture in a way. The whole gloom affinity focuses on you getting at low sanity to do more damage to your target, but censored doesn't inverse your sanity gain even with the passive, making this pointless. What the point here is that some gifts do better on their own rather than making use of Sin Affinity branches. Keyword some. The current weapons that were added this update was focused on the apprentices, and to clear up my talk from the previous direct, I was wrong about the relics. Due to the information provided, I'll list them here. Relics aren't specs, they are gimmick weapons, mostly assuming that they will have a hellload of conditionals, but I'll address. You don't drop them on dev, nor in PD. When collected, you can't drop them either. Basically speaking, this is your own personal weapon. Relics don't have a time limit or void if you leave the game for a long period of time. Now I got that out the way, let's talk about the weapons that were provided this update. Moonlit Blade is the strongest out the few this update, having a near instant crit, great combo potential, and takes the least to learn from what I used. Thermal weaponry comes in second with how it has 3 crits, fast M1s, and a difficult time to predict its crit, but still reactable. When it comes to the Index Shackles and Pale Emittance blades, I'll rate Pale Emittance 3rd and Index Shackles 4th. Pale Emittance has a great crit, but allegedly is still missing hitboxes on his last move, and his swings are pretty solid. Index Shackles is very complicated to talk about, with honored guesses being Gladius and Ujai Vanguard Kit. They were also pretty good weapons this update. A lot of weapons got reworked this update too, but that's not much to talk about. Quick time events are something I still have a mixed opinion on, and I still find it iffy to use when it comes to fighting people in this combat, and it doesn't mean I avoid them entirely. If there's a weapon that has it, I'll probably use it, but for those things that are pages, it's not entirely hand focused that I need to press a key in order to complete the check. One thing I thought wrong about QTE is that they were unparryable. There's only one weapon that has an unparryable crit, and that is Steam Gauntlet at max charge, which right now is insanely busted regardless of the crit being used right. QTEs aren't really a game changer mechanic as I thought them out to be. You don't have to follow them as most don't even punish you if you succeed them. My conclusions and criticism for this direct will be in this part. The animations. During this update, I noticed a lot more weapons having far more quicker animations for what their swing is. First it was the Gladius, then Moonlit, and then Thermal Weaponry. There were far more near-instant swings this update, making readability be much more difficult. Of course this was a problem last update, but I expected them to clear up those problems from the last update this update. Heavy M1s like the Inquisitor's Hammer ended up being much more harder to predict with how it has more wind-up than a swing. With slowable M1s and having these types of weapons, it becomes much more of a guessing game than reacting. And as I said earlier, indicators rarely even help in these types of fights. The cars in this game could have been left out, but it's not as bad anymore considering it used to do 2 bars on release. The cars are still an aggravating threat, but I can understand the consequences of standing in a road. MB grips. Despite it being a system bug or not, MB grips were supposed to bring people back quickly after a 1v1 or gank. They were meant to be useful in the game. Adding a sparring arena that continues to heal you before death just keeps the fight going until someone cuts the break. If MB grips worked in a sparring arena, it would have made sense. That was my only viewable criticism. The rest is just bugs and they were fixed in less of a week. But without any more to say, thank you for watching, subscribe below, and I'll see you on the next one.